Okay, we are starting recording audio in 3, 2, 1. What is going on, everybody? This is a joint YouTube video podcast. I'm going to both right now. So if you're on YouTube checking this out, be sure to check out the Run, Lift, Read pod on Spotify. And if you're on Spotify listening, check out the YouTube at Nikki B Holla, HOLLAAA Holla. I'm Nikki B. I'm the one talking today. And we're going to go deep into my experience at the BPN, Bare Performance Nutrition 50-mile ultra race. It was a little less than a week ago. Today is Thursday, June 20th. It was last Friday, June 14th, and it was a 50-mile ultra. I had a great experience there. The headline is exactly that. I loved spending time with my boy Joey P. I loved challenging myself, and I certainly got all I wanted in that regard. I guess we'll just start at the top here with the days leading up to the race. The elephant in the room is I got food poisoning on Tuesday night into Wednesday. It was very unpleasant. I was sick all Wednesday morning. I had to take work off on Wednesday and didn't eat a thing all of Wednesday. Now, I say all that not to have a built-in ready-made excuse for the race or how I performed, more so just to provide some context. It's just what happened. And at the end of the day, when I look at my result for this race, a 10 hours, 25 minutes finish time for a 50 miler. It's not bad considering the environmental factors, which I'll get to in a sec, but could I have done better? Definitely. And how I could have done better is I could have trained better and I could have prepared better. It's plain and simple. Not eating substantially in the days leading up, did that help? No. But was it the reason I didn't run what I felt was my best or run a time that I'm super proud of? No, it wasn't the main reason. So I just want to start there. But the food poisoning was super unpleasant. I had a flight Wednesday night to Austin from Denver, and it took everything in me to make that flight. Katie, my girlfriend, my lovely, amazing girlfriend, was helping me pack. She was putting clothes in my suitcase for me, and I was sitting on this very chair having a tough time even moving. And it's crazy to think that that was a week ago and how normal and strong I feel now. But I was really, really weak. So that was the couple days leading up to the race. I was in Austin the next 2 days, Thursday, Friday. I picked Joey P up on Thursday night at about midnight. And we stayed up till about 2 a.m. on purpose to try to shift the circadian rhythm a little bit, try to shift my sleep schedule a little bit. So we stayed up till about 2, 3 a.m., slept in till about 11 a.m., so still got our sleep in, but tried to shift that a little bit. And honestly, I think that helped with a 7 p.m. start time for this race. So I would definitely do that again. Thursday into Friday, eating was very inconsistent. I couldn't eat a full meal. I think it was a psychological thing as well as a physiological thing. I was just not feeling well and nervous to eat a full meal. So I did my best to eat what I could, but that definitely played into how I was feeling to start the race. All that being said, if you're interested more in the race or seeing what it looked like or how it went down, I have a full race video on the YouTube. Definitely check that out. It's a little more colorful than this, which will be just all about the details of the race specifically. With that being said, race started at 7 p.m. on Friday night at a ranch northwest of Austin, Texas, about an hour outside of the city. We had to be there by 6 p.m. for a safety briefing, so we got on the road at 4 just to make sure any traffic or anything, we would beat that. And we got to the ranch about 5:30 p.m., which was perfect timing. We were able to get our car parked, set up camp at the car, go to the safety briefing, hear all that, not spend too much time in the sun or the heat, and then get back to the car with about 20 minutes to spare to get ready to rock and roll. It was about 90 degrees at the start of the race in the Texas humidity, which was warm to say the least, but it's not so bad when you know in the next few hours it's going to cool down, which is exactly what happened. I would say the majority of the race, when I was in the dark, I was running at about 70, 75 degrees, which was honestly perfect temperature, pretty cool without the sunshine, and it felt fine. So, a lot of people have asked me, was the heat a factor? For me, no, it really wasn't. For about two and a half laps, I was in the heat, and that was it. So the race starts at 7 p.m. Got the whole crew at the start line. Nick Bear did his speech and everything, and blew that blowhorn, and we got rocking and rolling. The national anthem was sung by this girl. She did a really great job. It was just funny. She was like standing on a pickup truck bed, and she, like out of nowhere, she just appeared and started singing. So that was funny, but she did a really great job. And then we started the race. I ran near that lead pack for the first lap, and that was way too fast. I don't know. I'm not well versed enough in the 50-mile distance to know if going at a more consistent pace the entire time is smarter, like in a marathon, or if it's best to just bank a little time at the beginning, knowing you're going to slow down naturally as the race goes on because of how long it is. I wasn't really sure about that. I just knew I wanted to log some miles while the sun was still up, so where I could see the trail. It's always easier to run in the light, I've found, than in the dark. You're really focusing on your steps and you naturally slow down. So that was my thinking there. I came through the first couple laps, I think about 10 miles in about an hour and a half, maybe even a little less, which was pretty fast, all things considered, and especially considering my total pace for the race. But I felt not very good from the jump, to be honest. My stomach was just, and you'll see if you watch that video on YouTube, like my stomach was just off. And I could feel it almost right away. I was trying to drink. I was trying to take in fluids. And I noticed a lot of times when you run, you'll drink, and it kind of just, I don't want to say it disappears, but kind of. Your body uses it really quickly. It doesn't sit in your stomach for a while. And I noticed fluids, whether it was tailwind, so carbohydrates and electrolytes, or just water or Gator, whatever it was just sitting like on the top, like in my stomach. And I just felt, I'm pretty sure I was just constipated and really blocked up, and so nothing was moving through my system, so there was like nowhere for all this fluid to go. But that basically got worse and worse and worse. To the point where I recall probably on the third or fourth lap, maybe near mile 20, just having such sharp stomach pains that you take a step and you have this sharp pain in your stomach, and you need to stop running for a sec. It's such a painful, sharp pain. So the stomach pain got worse and worse and worse, and I was spending so much time in the bathroom, just trying to go to the bathroom, trying to clear whatever was ailing me. And honest to God, I probably spent, in the first 5 laps, 30 minutes in the porta potty just trying to get everything right. That's not ideal. The good news is eventually kind of cleared. I was able to get to feeling better, and that happened around mile 25. So really the headline of the first 25 miles, the first half of the race, was running on my own, half light, half dark in terms of the sun going down, and then this escalating stomach pain that just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And man, when your legs are feeling fine and you want to push it a little bit and you're just in so much pain somewhere else, it's just annoying, honestly. And that was the reality of my situation. I was doing my best to stay positive, to think about solutions, to just get this problem fixed, because I knew if I got that fixed, I'd be okay and I'd be feeling better. And I think Red Bull did the trick, honestly. At about, I think mile 20, I started taking Red Bull because I was like, okay, maybe the caffeine, everything that's in here will get things moving. It appeared to do the trick. And after mile 25, so going into my 6th lap, I picked up Joey as a pacer, and I was able to go to the bathroom. And I started to feel better slowly but surely. And honestly, man, after that, race was pretty uneventful. The 5 mile loops that I thought would be make the race a little easier because you know, 5 miles is a digestible amount of distance. I figured, okay, you just got to make it to the next lap, see Joey, see the crew, and then you can go out for another lap. I actually did not like it at all. I thought it made the race way tougher because you could always quantify where you were at in the race. You had the main area, so that was every 5 miles. You had an aid station that was at about mile 1, and then the course was a figure 8, so you would come back to that aid station about 3 miles into your loop. So you always had an idea of like, okay, I'm at this mile, or I'm at this mile, or I'm at this mile. And that's tough mentally to always know where you're at. I would much rather have longer loops, bigger loops, and just be able to zone out, you know, run, power walk, whatever you got to do, and you can just use your imagination about where you are in the race. I think that makes it a lot more digestible, usually makes it go by quicker. So that was a surprising challenge of the race for me. It was awesome having Joey at mile 25 to 30. He did such a great job. He was super positive the entire time. He was super like, I don't know like in service, what's the word I'm looking for? Helpful. Idiot. He was super helpful and helped me a lot. Wow, this segment. Oh my gosh. He was super helpful and he was always available. Hey, what do you need? What can I get you? How are you feeling? What do you need? And was just ready to go based on what I was asking for him. Super positive, like I said. And that's tough. I mean, he's sitting around for hours and hours and hours. We were at this, it took me 10 and a half hours to do this race. So he's sitting around for 10 and a half hours through the night and just did a really great job and is such a good friend. I don't know what else to say. So I was super appreciative to have him there. And he was the perfect guy for the job, honestly. He came and ran with me 25 to 30. That was great. He stepped off 30 to 35, which, you know, that lap was uneventful. I thought once I got to that, actually, no, I'm sorry. Joey ran with me those 2 laps. So that's my bad. He ran from 25 to 35 with me. Once I got to 35, I had that in my head as like a milestone. I was like, okay, get to 35. You have 15 miles left and you should be feeling good. 15 miles is very digestible. I know I can run 15 miles. But that was honestly the lowest lap of the entire race for me. That 8th lap from miles 35 to 40, I was on my own. It was dark. It was late. It was probably 2:30 in the morning at that point. And it was just really a low point of low energy, just making it through the lap, and very, very difficult, honestly. It's probably a good time to talk about the course just a little bit. I alluded to it, but it was 10 5-mile loops. So it was the same loop 10 times. It was a figure 8 kind of course, and it was on a private ranch in Texas. So some of the elements dealing with there was a shitload of bugs. Never in my face or anything like mosquitoes, so it was fine. But I kid you not, I saw probably 20 of the largest spiders I've ever seen in my life, like mini tarantula size, like the size of a balled up fist. When the spider's eyes were reflective, so when you were running and your headlamp was shining into the longer grass on the side of the trail, you could just see the little spider eyeballs everywhere. They were everywhere. In addition to that, there was cicadas that were making their noise in the trees. Through this one part specifically, probably at a mile stretch, where it was deafening how loud they were. I saw 3 armadillos. That was cool. Never seen one of those. There was a bull on the loose, I guess. Never saw him, but I did see some staff members flipping out about him a few times, so I guess he was nearby. Obviously saw some cows in the old pasture. And then at one point in the race, actually this happened twice. One time I heard like a growling or something from the brush to my right, which I'm guessing maybe it was like a wild boar or something. They had said that they're pretty prevalent in that country. And then another time, looked beyond a barbed wire fence in the dead of night and could just see two eyeballs looking at me. And you knew they were eyeballs because it would literally blink and then open back up, and it's just staring at you, which was a little scary. So I picked up the pace there. Shit, I should have just had two eyeballs looking at me the whole time. Some wild animals chasing me. I probably would have run faster. But that was the wildlife around there. Pretty wild. There was a lot going on versus Colorado. We just got like honeybees and stuff. So that was wild. The trail itself was much more difficult to navigate in terms of the terrain than I thought it would be. It was a mix of dirt trails, dirt and rock, and then like really rock heavy segments with long grass that you had to run through. When I say long, I mean like maybe 6 inches matted down, but it was still laborious to run through that terrain for as long as I did. And I underestimated significantly the effect that would have on my legs and my psyche. I mean, I had one lap, man. It was that 35 through 40, that low lap where I tripped, no lie, 6, 7, 8 times. And you are just cussing the world at that point. And that was a low point. And every time you trip or stumble, it's a little bit more of a low point for you, and you're just trying to get back home, man. So that was the terrain of the course. Other than that, Joey ran miles 40 to 45 with me. She wasn't a staff member, actually, Sierra. She was a friend of the brand. She joined up with us. She ran with us. She was great, super positive, and it was nice to just have a small little group on the trail there for those miles. And then you get to the last lap, 5 miles to go. I mean, you know the drill at that point. You're so close to the end. The last lap is never the hardest one. For me, it was that third to last lap that was the toughest. And finished that last lap, grabbed Joey P, and we ran through the finish line to finish at about 5:30 in the morning, a little bit before the sun rose. So I literally ran from before the sun went down until the sun rising, essentially, which was crazy. It was a fantastic experience. It was much more difficult than I thought it would be. It was extremely humbling. And I will say this, it put the tiniest shred of doubt in my mind to tackle the 100-mile distance. 100 miles feels really long after you break yourself off for 50 miles. But I was talking with my buddy Zach the other day, and he was like, look, if the 100-mile distance doesn't scare you, it's not a noble goal, right? And my mind goes specifically to the Leadville 100, way more climbing in the mountains. You're by yourself, and it scares me, man. It scares the shit out of me. And that's how I know it's a good goal and it's something worth going after. So that's going to remain on my goals list. But I just want to say this event put a little shred of, damn, that's going to be a long way in my head. I want to quickly shout out the BPN team, Nick Bear. They put on a phenomenal event. I know it's from the brief event planning I've done, it is not easy, even to put on a small little thing, to coordinate 100 runners, the ranch, the course, all the aid station supplies. Phenomenal job. And everyone there, all the BPN staff, was in great spirits. They were super supportive, and they did a really fantastic job. And I have nothing but gratitude for them and for Nick Bear, who, from what I saw, stood at the finish line from the first finisher finishing at 6.5 hours to the last finisher finishing near 15 hours. All night stood there to hand out medals, to give a hug or whatever at the finish line. And I can't say enough how much I respect that and how much I appreciate that. So a quick thank you and some love to the BPN staff. They did a phenomenal job with this event, and it was really cool to be a part of. With that being said, I think I covered just about everything there. We left right, like I said, as the sun was coming up. We were just gassed, man. Both of us. Joey was asleep probably within 10 minutes of being in the car. He was actually driving to start on our way back. And at one point, I looked over at him and he was like, you could tell half asleep, slowing down to the stoplight in like a daze. When I said his name, he kind of like snapped to attention. So I was like, all right, dude, let's pull off here. We'll switch. So he knocked out there after a long night, rightfully so. I grabbed some Chick-fil-A breakfast. I had like a few of the chicken minis and some hash browns, and I was just exhausted. I didn't eat anything else. I had a little water with it, and then I was just so tired. I didn't even shower, which is absurd to think about. But I just laid down in bed, went to sleep. We probably slept from 6:30 in the morning to about noon. Got up around noon, and then got our day going. And weirdly enough, the sleep schedule wasn't super affected, which is wild to think about, but was all good there. Left Austin on Sunday. I was really sore on Saturday. Basically the same, not basically, it was the same day as finishing. So I was really sore, tender on Saturday, joints a little swollen. Sunday I felt much better. By Monday I was honestly pretty normal. I felt pretty okay, which to me is a great sign of my fitness, of my body's resiliency and ability to recover, which is a part of your fitness. So that was super exciting to me. It's now Thursday. My body feels fantastic, pretty normal to be honest. And I'm going to resume. I took from Saturday till today completely off. I haven't been doing anything except eating a shitload of ice cream and chilling, watching a lot of movies. So I'm trying to give my body that rest that I know it needs, that I know it deserves. And I'm going to get back into, I'm going to go for a swim today, later this evening, and take another week off of running. So I'll do swimming, biking, lifting, and then get back into running in about a week's time. So I'm taking 2 full weeks off running. That was what I promised myself after rolling Boston into this race. And I think I'm going to go into prep for my next marathon, feeling really excited and really fresh. That being said, let's talk about real quick just some lessons that I took from this ultra and then what's next. My biggest lesson here was I ran the Boston Marathon April 5th, I think it was the 15th, mid-April of this year. I got into this race a few days after the Boston Marathon, and I basically just rolled this right into training for this ultra. If I could do this over again, I would take probably a week to 2 weeks off after the Boston Marathon, just let my legs recover, and then really put in a great effort for 5-6 weeks leading up into this ultra. Instead of doing that, I basically just did whatever 7-8 weeks of so-so training, and I got a so-so result. So I would rest, I would let my legs freshen up, I would let my mind freshen up, and then I would really attack the ultra training for 4 or 5 weeks even. I think that would be more impactful than what I did, which was basically like mediocre for 7-8 weeks. That being said, what's next? I'm going to take a couple weeks off, like I said. I'm going to start back with some easy base building running for 2-3 weeks. And then I'm going into a 12-week marathon build for the Chicago Marathon, October 13th, 2024. It's a fast course. I'm going to show up in great shape. I'm going to kill that shit. I'm so excited. And I'm really excited to run a great race on a fast course. I know I'm going to have a great build, and I'm shortening up my build from like the 16-20 week to 12 weeks to really be focused, to really be intentional in each of those workouts, each of those weeks. And I think it's going to be a really great race. I'm excited. So I know this 50 miler will lend itself to some endurance and some gains for that prep. And I'm really ready to go to have a great, great Chicago Marathon in the fall. And that's all I got to say on it. I'm pretty pumped up. So that is the BPN 50 Mile Ultra recap. If you have any questions or you're like, hey, what about this, this, or this, throw it in the comments. I would love to answer those questions there. Feel like I covered everything. Maybe I didn't, but that was the recap. Thank you all for listening, watching, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.